Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Katrina and this is I'm gonna try to do a weekly wrap-up. I've seen multiple people do it. Onyx Pages, Cherie at Onyx Pages does a Friday reads, a hashtag Friday reads, and I've seen that a couple times, and so I was just wondering if that would lead to maybe shorter videos. So the first book I read was The Care and Feeding of Stray Vampires by Harper. It's another one of those Half Moon Hollow books that I've talked about. I gave it 4 stars. I'm starting to really love the characters in Half Moon Hollow. The next book I read was The Plot by Hanff Korelitz. I gave this book 3 stars. There's this guy, Jacob Finch Bonner, who wrote a book, and it was met with like middling success, and he ended up taking like this residential writers, like I'm not sure what he is, but like he leads a writing retreat up in northern New York, and he comes across this student who tells him that he has a plot of a story that is it's going to be the story. Everybody who has a bespoke, I remember him saying a bespoke book club. I was like, oh, is that what those are called? The ones like Reese Witherspoon and Jenna Bush and Oprah have. They call them bespoke book clubs. It's going to be on every talk show. It's going to be, and he just kept going on and on about his plot. And that group of students moved on from that program. Jacob went on with his life just being, jealous of other people and just being frustrated and everything like that. Fast forward maybe 5 years, and Jacob realizes he hasn't heard from, so he looks all the different versions of the name up. He looks up Evan, Parker's writer, looks on Facebook, all that kind of stuff. Come to find out, the guy, I think he finally finds out that the guy died. So he takes the plot, and writes the book, and he gets all of that promised fame and glory and everything from the book. And then he starts to get these emails saying, you stole that story, you're gonna get it. Then this person is blackmailing him and starting to send the messages to his lawyer and to his agent and things like that. And they keep assuring him that you can't trademark a plot, you didn't steal this from anybody. And that's the only lie he told, is that he hadn't heard it from anybody. But he was like, even if there is a kind of a stop in the middle book where they do have like this morality conversation about can you steal someone's plot, can you steal an idea, and if a person doesn't write the book, then shame on them. They had that morality talk, but Jacob still lied and said that he hadn't heard the story from somebody else. Now, the one problem that I had with it, I was really very, very excited about this, and it's another one of those book within books. It was a downfall for the book was I think the author should have just left the book part out, because there was no way it was boring. There were large chunks throughout the book read. We do know the plot as well. We know the plot. The plot wasn't that great, and then there's a bunch of chunks that are read throughout the book. Nothing is special about this book, and so I think it would have been better if none of that part, the book within the book part, would have been said. I think it would have been better if it would have just been left the plot. If they had just kept referring to the plot of the book, and he got his fame, and then you had this mystery of the person saying, I'm gonna get you because you stole that story, and then had that just be the focus of the mystery, because it really does take away from it, because there was nothing special about it. Once the story revealed who the person was, it was still a letdown. I was like, really? You know what I mean? Like, it just wasn't. So The next book I finished was The Cutting Season by Attica Locke. This book is about a young woman, Karen, who is a single mother, and she is a manager of a plantation. At the very, very beginning of the book, Karen's walking the perimeter, getting ready, opening things up, and there's a body found. Someone is dead on the premises. And so as they're trying to find out who is this person that's dead in this time frame, there's another story about another death that happened a long time ago there. And then there's also some tension in the way they go all the way back to the 1800s, and people, who stole land from whose land is this, and all that kind of stuff, and so that kind of stuff was all there. But this story had a little bit, there was something missing. There was some tension missing, maybe. Sometimes when I'm reading a mystery, even when nothing's quite happening, or it seems like nothing's happening, I'm super nervous. Like there's something keeping me on edge. There's something that's not quite right. And there's a couple books that I've read since that have done that. And so I can't quite put my finger on what was missing from this story. It had everything to make it a good book. I finished it. The mystery was satisfactory, but I did figure out, like I said, because I figured out what one of the overall mysteries was. I didn't figure out who the murderer was, but I figured out what that deeper layer murder was, that long ago theft, of property and things like that. I figured that out. So yeah, I can't say I was disappointed, but it was just a middling novel for me. And so I think I gave this one 3 stars. Now, this next book, The Family Pot by Cherie Priest, was a 5-star read. It seems like I like books where people go clean out places like old family members' houses, or go and salvage old estates, and then as the group is doing this and they have whatever banter or tension between the group, then as a group they start being haunted, or something supernatural happens to them. And the salvaging, there's like all these levels. Like, it's really cool to find out history and stuff like that, and like learning the names of certain things, and how this woman, like she's a veteran salvager, and there was like her cousin was on the group with her, the cousin's son, and then a newcomer. So the veterans could tell the newcomer, why certain things were valuable and why they weren't. So that was quite interesting to me. But there was literal ghosts in this place. And one thing was so frustrating to me, though, was that they weren't talking to each other. Like, they had all seen an actual ghost at that point, but none of them were talking to each other. And it's like, if y'all had talked earlier, y'all could have started coming up with some solutions well before people was getting hurt and stuff, But it was so scary. It was so good. I don't know. It's got to be, I don't know what to call it. It's, group clean out horror. I don't know what it is, but I'm finding that I love it. And what's so interesting is that I'm reading one of the books I'm currently reading. It's a nonfiction about prison. And one of the statistics chilled me so much that I had to put the book down. I haven't picked it back up since. And that freaked me out so much that I put it down, and I picked this book up to relax, because I was having so much fun, and I was nervous, and I was scared and chilled, and it was such a fun book. The next book I read was Horrorstor. It's called a comedy horror, but I would not call it comedy. It's quirky. Grady Hendrix, he wrote the Southern Book Club's Guide to Slaying Vampires. He's quirky and gross. And sometimes he has, both the books that I've read of his have had a social commentary under them as well. So sort of a satirical, quirky, gross horror is what I would call it, not comedy. There was no comedy. There wasn't even any real sarcasm. So the cover of it is really great, and I was able to find, so I was able to read this as I was listening to it, but also the paperback, I still want to get the paperback, because the paperback, I went online and there's still more pictures that there were pictures in the Kindle version that I was reading, but there's more pictures and things in the actual book, and it looks like, and it's the size and dimensions of an actual Ikea catalog, and it's an Ikea knockout store. So these people are working there, and the place is haunted, and they go through all of this stuff, and the fact that they keep kind of like going in circles and things is like this play on kind of the rat race that we're in as workers in big box stores, as in the rat race of capitalism, maybe, you know, worker solidarity, maybe. So those are like light, he lightly touches on that, but there is a lot of spookiness. There is a lot of creepiness. He is the master of like creepy rats, you know, like gory rat stuff or spider stuff, or like in the vampire Southern Guys to How to Kill Vampires, that one had a rat thing. He has a thing with rats, and it's so gross, but it was such an enjoyable quick read, and it made me add so many more. Like it said, if you like this book, you know, add these. And I went through and I added a whole bunch more books. I had Horrorstor sitting in my library for so long, and I have a bunch of his other books. It made me want to read his other ones. But every one of his books are so different that just because you like one doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily be in the mood for the next one. So when I went to pick up my best friend's Exorcism, it's a totally different, it's teens, it's 80s. And it was, you know, it was kind of like chalks on a nails on a chalkboard to hear the teen voice, like I said, because I listened to most of this stuff. And Horrorstor was about big box horror, and vampires was Southern, in the 90s, Southern white ladies, and it spoke about class and race. So it's all over the place, but it's great. Grady Hendrix is a great satirical, quirky horror writer. I would suggest picking up his book. It may not be for everybody, but pick up one of those books and, you know, see what you like. But again, it's not, you have to keep giving them a chance, because you don't know what the next book is going to be like. Like I said, that got 5 stars from me. I read after this was another 5-star. I listened to it first. It's a YA, and you know how I feel about YAs, but this still got a 5-star. First of all, the cover, I don't know what's the difference between the two covers, but this cover here is the one I ordered, and it is gorgeous. But this young woman wrote this book. She wrote her first draft in her freshman year of college, and it was finished and completely, you know, edited and all that kind of stuff in her senior year of college. So let's talk about that. Like, let's just give her props for that. So the basic, the one line pitch is, this is Get Out meets Gossip Girl, make it queer. And so there's these 2 black kids who are the only black kids in this prep school, who in their high school year, like in the last couple weeks of their high school career, they start having their lives being destroyed systematically, and they have to figure out who it is. And like when these things are released about them, like, so the guy is gay, and he hadn't told anybody like fully, like he wasn't quite in the closet, but he wasn't quite just like living his truth. But a picture of him kissing this guy was sent around in the school, and then it was signed off with Ace. And so that whoever this Ace was systematically destroying their lives, putting, I think it was like compromising pictures of the girl in all the lockers, just going through and just destroying their lives. Then they find out there's this conspiracy, and as they go through, and then they try to the two kids come together. They're from two different sides of the track. The girl is rich, and mixed and light-skinned and popular, evil, popular girl. And the author talks about how she wanted to do something with that. She didn't want the evil, popular girl to be one note. But I obviously loved, she put such care in Devin, the boy. My heart was with him. I loved him. He was much more developed to me. He was so sensitive, and his thoughts were so engrossing, and his life story was so sad. And then there's this scene at the end, and I literally cheered because so the girls answer to trying to bring a light on what was being done to them at this school was to go to the press, and the boy put it out on Twitter. And so Twitter, Black Twitter spread its situation, and they came in force to protest for them, and it was like, no justice, no peace. The ending was great, and then even the author's note at the end was wonderful. The reasoning behind why she wrote the story, I loved it. She read her reasoning, her author's note, and her acknowledgement. The book was read by someone else, but I immediately got the hardcover, and it's going on the kids' shelf. Now, the last book that I completed this week so far, and I think I'm going to stop it here. I'm currently reading other things, but this video is going much longer than what I thought. I thought the whole point of doing a week was that I wouldn't be talking so long. But I just finished The Maidens last night, and I don't know what I feel about it. I don't know what to rate it. So Mariana is this half Greek girl who grew up with her father. Her father was difficult, and she gets married to this guy, Sebastian. Sebastian is dead when we meet her. She is grieving him. He's been dead for 14 months, and she is grieving him. She also, they also adopted her 6-year-old sister, Zoe. So she raised her. Zoe is now at Cambridge College. So Edward Fosca is this Greek mythology teacher, and he has like this cult of personality, and there's these girls that follow him around wearing all white, and they're called the Maidens. They're the most beautiful, smart people in his class, and he teaches just them. And when Zoe calls her sister, and says, someone's died, can you come to the school? Mariana goes. So one of the things that's annoying and weird is that because I read so many cozy mysteries, because I read thrillers and mysteries so much, there is almost always in good stories a reason why the person who is not a police officer or a PI is involved in the story. Either they're the one that found the body, if it's a paranormal one, that person is haunting them, a forensic expert of some sort, and they're helping the police department. This woman had absolutely no end into this investigation, except that her daughter was friends with the girl who was killed. So she, leaves Greece, goes to England to be with her niece, and upon meeting Edward Fosca, who is the teacher of Greek mythology with this cult of personality, is immediately convinced that he's the murderer. And it had the necessary red herrings, and at one point I was for sure that I knew who it was, and then I actually heard myself go, no, but it could be this person. So that was fun for like a split second. Like, it was fun to be like, wait a minute, it could be this person and it could be this person. And the red herrings were kind of set up really well for like 3 people. It totally ended up being somebody it came out of nowhere that this other person was the actual murderer. But then we have two POVs. At the end of the story, when I finished the book, I was just sitting there like, and then I read some good and negative reviews, and I still, normally that helps me to crystallize how I feel, because somebody will say something and I'll be like, oh, okay, yeah, I thought that too. still can't figure out what I feel. Then so I sit back down, I go, okay. But I'm like, wait a minute. It is never resolved who that other POV was. We don't know, unless somebody else has read the book. Please put it down in the comments. Who was the other POV? And so I was thoroughly like unimpressed. This book has been pushed all over BookTube. I was getting excited about it a little bit. Like I told you, I've started to tamp down my excitement about things that are pushed on BookTube and Bookstagram. But the cover was beautiful. Silent Patient was good. I love thriller. But as I'm talking this through, I think I'm gonna have to give this a 2, because I did finish it. I loved the beginning where it was describing Greece, where Mariana was at first, and then once you got onto the campus, and I was just like, I remember writing down it just in my notes, like, this is giving me Discovery of Witches vibes. And I love the setting of Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. I was surprised, like when the murderer was, my mouth dropped open when the murderer was revealed. But then I was like, why? Like it didn't make sense. Like if any of the other red herrings had done it, there was all these clues that would have brought it together. Like anybody else made sense. This other person didn't make sense. And then the story, the whole other POV was dropped. Unless I'm missing something. And you have to, if you put it in the comments, I think it's going to have to be a spoiler if you tell me who the other POV is. Because I think because of who the murderer is. And I thought we were led to believe that the murderer was the other POV. If you've read The Maidens, please talk to me about this. I don't know. I don't get it. Let's put a spade up as the end of the video emoji, because that was the best book that I read this week. Be easy on yourself, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.